MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell alleges Donald Trump is a Russian operative. Hello and welcome to TST. If you're new to the channel, tap on the subscription button and press the notification bell so you can receive news and updates that you can rely on daily. Thursday on MSNBC, host Lawrence O'Donnell reacted to reports that President Donald Trump was angered after intelligence officials told a bipartisan group of House members that Russia was attempting to get Trump re-elected. O'Donnell said, "The president is a Russian operative. That sounds like the description of a bad Hollywood screenplay, but it is real. It is Vladimir Putin's greatest achievement, decades after America's victory in the Cold War and collapse of the Soviet Union. The President of the United States is now helping the President of Russia help the President of the United States to get re-elected. So that the President of Russia will have 4 more years of the President of the United States who he wants in the Oval Office. This is one of those shocking news days if you retain the capacity to be shocked in the Trump era by the Trump regime, which might be better labeled the Trump-Putin regime," he said. Discussing outgoing Director of National Intelligence Joseph Maguire being replaced by Ambassador to Germany Richard Grenell after the briefing, O'Donnell said, "Donald Trump is operating in the White House in conjunction with Vladimir Putin to hide what Vladimir Putin is doing to help Donald Trump get re-elected. Donald Trump is a Russian operative if tonight's reporting by the Washington Post and the New York Times is true. And everything else we know about Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin indicates that it is true." He added, "This is a darkly momentous event in the history of this country, in the history of this world. Vladimir Putin has become Donald Trump's running mate once again." Take a watch.
But we begin tonight with another test of America's ability to be shocked by Donald Trump, who has very deliberately shocked America to the point where he hopes that shock has been replaced by acceptance. The president is a Russian operative. That sounds like the description of a bad Hollywood screenplay, but it is real. And it is Vladimir Putin's greatest achievement. Decades after America's victory in the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union, the President of the United States is now helping the President of Russia help the President of the United States to get reelected so that the President of Russia will have 4 more years of the President of the United States who he wants in the Oval Office. This is one of those shocking news days, if you retain the capacity to be shocked in the Trump era by the Trump regime, which might be better labeled the Trump-Putin regime. And it's one of those breaking news situations that suddenly makes recent news make more sense, like the recent news that Donald Trump has outdone himself by appointing one of the most ridiculous, incompetent stooges in the Trump administration to be nothing less than the acting director of national intelligence. The president gave that job to his current ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, who intends to remain ambassador to Germany while being the acting director of national intelligence. And Richard Grenell will be replacing Joseph Maguire, who was serving as an acting director of national intelligence. And he expected to be nominated by the president to be confirmed by Mitch McConnell's Senate as the official director of national intelligence until Vladimir Putin showed Donald Trump that he needed an even more incompetent director of national intelligence because Vladimir Putin is working hard to re-elect his favorite president of the United States in history. And Donald Trump doesn't want the American intelligence community getting in the way of Vladimir Putin's help, as intelligence officials did exactly 1 week ago in a briefing to the House Intelligence Committee, which we are just learning about tonight. According to reports in the New York Times and the Washington Post, Joseph Maguire's staff briefed the House Intelligence Committee on Russia's latest efforts to interfere in the presidential campaign to help Donald Trump. The Washington Post was first to report President Trump's reaction to intelligence officials following the law and briefing the House Intelligence Committee on Russia's latest attempts to help the Trump campaign. Washington Post reports Trump erupted at his acting director of national intelligence, Joseph Maguire, in the Oval Office, perceiving him and his staff as disloyal for speaking to Congress about Russia's perceived preference. There was a dressing down of Maguire, said another individual. Maguire came away despondent. The Washington Post and New York Times report that the intelligence briefing of the committee by Joseph Maguire's staff, led by Shelby Pearson, became contentious, with Republicans on the committee arguing against the intelligence findings that were being presented to the committee. According to the Washington Post, one member of the committee violated the committee's secrecy rules and told Donald Trump about the briefing. Washington Post says Trump learned about Pearson's remarks from Representative Devin Nunes, the committee's ranking Republican and a staunch Trump ally, said one person familiar with the matter. Trump's suspicions of the intelligence community have often been fueled by Nunes, who was with the president in California on Wednesday when he announced on Twitter that Grinnell would become the acting director, officials said. A spokesman for Nunes did not respond to requests for comment. And now, the acting director of national intelligence, Richard Grinnell, will probably or surely be operating under a direct order from the president not to reveal to the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, as is required by law, what Vladimir Putin is doing to help Donald Trump get reelected. That is what the American presidency has become tonight. That is where this country is tonight. Donald Trump is operating in the White House in conjunction with Vladimir Putin to hide what Vladimir Putin is doing to help Donald Trump get reelected. Donald Trump is a Russian operative, if tonight's reporting by the Washington Post and the New York Times is true. And everything else we know about Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin indicates that it is true.
Did you want President Trump to win the election, and did you direct any of your officials to help him do that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
Russia's interference in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump has been proved far beyond a reasonable doubt, and Donald Trump was not president in 2016. Donald Trump did not have the kind of powers he has now to actively help the president of Russia help reelect the president of the United States. This is a darkly momentous event in the history of this country and the history of this world. Vladimir Putin has become Donald Trump's running mate once again. Leading off.
Well, we can absolutely, most definitely say every Democrat in the Capitol is anything but an American operative, judging from their preference of everyone but an American in terms of privileges. And if working with Russia is what gives America, Donald Trump, a president who facilitates a booming economy, higher wages, record low unemployment, significant tax cuts, and better standards of living overall, then it really doesn't matter which country America's working with as long as they stay within their boundaries. And this collaboration prioritizes Americans in everything good over others. Isn't that what presidents are for? Ensuring that a country thrives instead of just surviving? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And haven't you checked out the official TST store yet? It has a variety of Patriot-themed custom t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, phone cases, and tons more. Make sure to check it out and maybe help us out picking some products for yourself and your loved ones at great prices. It does make a huge difference to what we're doing here. Link in the description below. If you've liked this report, let us know by tapping that like button down below, share the news among friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more news and updates on TST. I'm David Ravine, and I'll catch you in the next one.